శుక్లాంబరధరం విష్ణుం శశివర్ణం చతుర్భుజం ప్రసన్నవదనం ధ్యాయేత్ సర్వవిఘ్నోపశాంతయే. Om. Dear friends, we are in this Sankhya Yoga and we were reading Shloka number 39, that is Yesha Te Bhita Sankhya. We were just reading and Krishna is switching over from one subject to another. That is what we saw. He first talked about what is called Sankhya Buddhi and now he is going to switch over to Yoga Buddhi. And just to recapitulate, what is Sankhyam? We were seeing that Sankhya is something to do with the knowledge of what am I, who am I, that is the knowledge of what is that supreme reality and what is the connection between me and that supreme reality. So that is what is Sankhya Buddhi. It is something which is done not by doing any karma, not by doing any activity, not by doing any yajnam or dhanam, anything like that. It is basically based on inquiry or what is called investigation into the nature of self, and the objective is to get rid of ignorance. Avidya nivrutti. Avidya nivrutti is the phalam for that Sankhya. And what is this yoga? By yoga, Krishna is not referring to Dhyana Yoga, Atma Sanyama Yoga, etc., which we are going to see later. He is only referring to what is called Karma Yoga now. And what is this Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga is an attitude to karma. The normal meaning of karma is work. But we are not here referring to any work relating to our livelihood. Suppose we go to an office, we do some job and then we earn some pay, etc. We are not referring to that job. We are referring to various other activities which are there mentioned in the Vedas, in the Smritis, etc. as a Shastriya karma. Shastriya karma means, okay, you can do this puja if you want to attain this. You Swarga Kamo Yajeta. If you want heaven, you do this particular yajna. If you want some other thing, you do this particular yajna. So like this, there are so many, taking into consideration the nature, the human nature. That is, human nature is full of desires. So in order to fulfill our desires, the Vedas, they suggest so many ways. So that is the karma. And if you are doing this karma, and if you are getting this karma phalam and whatnot, then this cycle of birth and death goes on and on and on. So that is what Krishna is saying now. And if you want to avoid that particular cycle, the basic point we have to understand is, every karma is giving some result. Invariably, karma gives some result. It is like the Newton's law, that is, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So something like that. Every karma invariably gives a result. Depending on what, if it is a good karma, it gives a good result. If it is a bad karma, it gives a bad result. And good result we call it punyam, and bad result we call it papam. And that is something which is inescapable, inevitable and inescapable, and the person who is the doer, he has to experience, or rather he has to reap the fruit of that particular karma. He has to reap the fruit of that karma. And we have seen that, I was also mentioning that in one human life, there are so many activities, there are so many karmas which we perform from childhood, or rather at least from adulthood till we die, in a long span of life. And there is so much of karma phalam also. And this karma phalam is not something which is very, very immediate. And karma phalam, there are certain karma phalam, for example, Swarga. Swarga is not something which is coming immediately. Some punyam is there in my account, and Swarga is there, something which I hope to get after the death, after the departure after the fall of the body. Suppose if Indra were to send a vehicle right now, I may not be prepared to go. I may say, sir, please wait for some more time. I have to perform my son's marriage, my daughter's marriage, etc., etc. So I may not be ready. And the overall structure of karma and karma phala is that karma phalam is there, which is somewhat like a bank account which is there in us, and that will give result at some point of time later. And for that, in order to reap that fruit, I have to get another janma, and another janma I will also do some more work, some more karma, and that again will give some more phalam, good or bad, whatever it is. And depending on the good karma or bad karma, I have to get another life. So this endless cycle of birth and death, it goes on and on. So this is basically what is called the karma doctrine. And if you want to avoid this circle, and then get freed, get liberated, what should you do? So that is what Krishna is going to say. So that is why in this shloka, Yesha te bhita sankhye buddhir yoge tvimam shrunu buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. For the first time, Krishna is using a word called karma bandham, that is the bondage of karma. What is the bondage of karma? That is what I explained just now. I explained to you that a karma invariably gives a result, and you have to inescapably reap the fruit of that karma. So you have to experience the fruit. So that is what is that karma. And karma bandham prahasyasi. He is saying by following this path, slowly it is going to aid you. It is going to help you. It is going to help you in getting rid of karma bandha. Karma bandha, we are going to see that karma yoga is not directly going to neutralize all past karma, but it will help. It will give what is called chitta shuddhi or antahkarana shuddhi, that purity of mind, which enables the person to study further, to go further, and then again he will think. He will think about. He will then contemplate. He will then investigate into the real nature. Till that time, so long as I am after so many fruits and so many, I want this, I want that, so all these desires and desires and desires. And this investigation into the nature of self is not something which is a pastime, it is not a part-time investigation, something which we just do. Okay, suppose sometime in the evening, suddenly you just sit and then, okay, you just ask somebody, okay, tell me something about Maya. In 2 minutes, I have to tell me something about Maya because I have to leave immediately. So that is not the way. So this karma, for this investigation or for this inquiry, there is a need for a calm mind. There should be a purity. Number one, there is a purity of mind and focusing of the mind. Both are needed. Purity of mind and focusing the mind. What is called a nirmalatvam, that is purity, and a nishchalatvam, that is focusing. Nirmalatvam and nishchalatvam are both needed in this particular inquiry, and that is possible by doing karma yoga. Karma yoga clears the mind. Karma yoga cleans the mind. It gives that purity of mind, which is the essential prerequisite for further next step, that is Jnana Yoga. It is somewhat like passing a preliminary exam in order to go to the final exam. So it is like that. So that is what karma bandham prahasyasi. So I just explained to you what is this karma bandham, this bondage of karma. And I think I told you also some time ago that this karma, the doctrine of karma is accepted almost by half the humanity. I told you the reasons also. The reasons are, these are the important points which I may be repeating. That is because most of us are very much confused about what is this karma siddhanta. Is it something like fatalism? Fatalism is, okay, I am destined to be like this. I am destined to be like this. I just cannot do anything. It is my fate. Is it fatalism? It is not fatalism. That is exactly what we have to see. It is not fatalism because it is only the karma or karma phalam is determined. Karma phalam is just determining the particular type of life you are getting. But once you get a particular life, then the human life, particularly in the human life, if you are in the human life, then you have got all the chance to rectify your past mistakes, all the chance to rectify the mistakes, in the sense all the past sins can be got rid of by following dharma here. Dharmena papam apanudati, says Shastra. Dharmena papam apanudati. By doing this dharma karma, by following these dharmic activities, you can get rid of, neutralize past sins. So that is again it says. So this otherwise, what is the use of all these Shastras? Suppose you cannot neutralize all these things. Suppose you are only condemned to be like this. If you are condemned to be like this, then what is the use of all Shastras? What is called Shastranarthakyam? Shastranarthakyam is, there is no justification for the existence of the Shastras. So that is another term which is used in Shastra. So our Shastras are there, which only means that a man can rectify his defects. A man can, whatever may be the past action, he can rectify the past action and become a better person. We come to the next shloka, that is, I will read 40, shloka number 40. Neha bhikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Na iha abhikramanashaha asti. Na plus iha becomes neha. Neha abhikramana. Sometimes we see girls also named as Neha. It doesn't mean anything. Neha means not here. Na iha. I don't know why people go to Google and then get these names. So na iha, here it is not there. What? Abhikramanashaha. In this shloka, Krishna is saying that there is no wastage of effort. Whatever effort you do, there is no wastage of effort in this particular path. He is now telling about what is called karma yoga. In this path of karma yoga, there is no wastage of effort. That means, Even if you do a little thing, it will give some result. You visualize, all of us, for example, all of us, we know various types of schemes, business schemes. In those schemes, okay, you join and then you pay for a month or two, and then if you do not continue, maybe you will have to forfeit what all you have paid. You will not get the result. But here, and similarly, in various karmas which we find in various scriptures, suppose you are doing a particular yajna or maybe some other ritual. In that particular ritual, unless you complete it in a very, very meticulous manner, you will not get the result. According to this Mimamsa Shastra, everything has to be observed. Everything, what all has been told, verbatim, what all has been told in the Veda has to be observed verbatim. If you are not able to examine it, follow it verbatim, it is going to give a negative result also. So that is, what all your effort, abhikrama means effort, the prarambha, abhikrama means the prarambha, that initial effort which you have put in, that becomes a waste. Abhikramanashaha. So Krishna is saying, why is Krishna saying this? Neha abhikramanashosti, pratyavayo na vidyate. Pratyavaya means no contrary result. He is referring to the other types of rituals which we see in the Vedas, where if you start something and then leave it somewhere in the middle, you will not get the result. And maybe sometimes if you are not performing it properly, you may get a contrary result. But in this karma yoga, there is no such thing. Even if you do a little bit, even if you practice it a little bit, he is going to say what exactly is this karma yoga. Even if you practice a little bit, it is going to give you that purity of mind to that extent. To that extent, at least, it will give you purity of mind. So here, of course, the commentators have elaborated on what is this abhikramanasha. For this abhikramanasha, for example, you see a ritual. You take a ritual. We are all familiar with various types of rituals. Some Panditji comes and then he says, you fold your left leg like this and you offer some what is this, argyam or what, something, jalam, or maybe if it is Pitru Devatas, you have to do like this. If for Pitru Devatas, if you do not do like this, that is a mistake. It will give you negative result also. And if you are not folding the left leg and if you are folding the right leg, that again is wrong. You have to fold only the left leg. So that thing is wasted. And suppose you are using some darba, that kusha grass, and that kusha grass, the tip of the kusha grass has to be in a particular direction. If it is not in that particular direction, it will not give the result. So like that, this yajna, the people who perform this yajna, they will say, no, you have to do like this only, and you have to do like in a particular way only you have to do, whether it is pradakshina or apradakshina, whatever it is, or you have to do this janyu in a proper way or apasavya way. So there are so many conditions there, and if you do not fulfill all those conditions, it will not give the result. And pratyavaya again is of different types. Pratyavaya means a contrary result. Pratyavaya, prati, ava, aya. The Sanskrit root aya means to go. Aya gatau, to movement. Movement. Aya means movement. Prati ava aya means a downward movement. Downward, opposite movement, downward movement. That is a downfall, something which is a contrary result. Pratyavaya is a contrary result. For example, a mantra is supposed to be uttered in a particular way. A mantra, for all the mantras in the Vedas, there is what is called a particular type of intonation. In English also we have what is called an intonation, particularly for poetry. For prose, of course, there is no intonation, and for poetry there is intonation. And of course, if you do not follow that intonation, nobody says that you are going to get sin. But in the case of a Veda mantra, if you are not following that intonation properly, that swara as we call it, udatta, anudatta, etc., those swaras, if you do not follow, it gives a negative result. And for that there are certain stories also. And actually it says, mantro hinaha swarato varnatova. It says, mantraha hinaha swarataha varnatova. Suppose you are chanting a particular mantra and you are not using the particular swara properly, or maybe some particular varna is not pronounced properly, or if you do like that, that mantra is going to hit the yajamani. Sa vag vajraha. It is going to hit that yajamani like a vajrayudham. Sa vag vajraha yajamanam hinasti. Yathendra Shatruswarato Paradhat. There is also an example of one, there is a story also which is referred to here. Yatha Indra Shatruswarataha Aparadhat. Indra Shatru. Again, it is referring to one particular story. It seems Devendra, at some point of time, Devendra, we know that he is also he is the lord of all gods. And in fact, if we see the Vedic literature, in the Vedic literature, Indra is the chief. Indra actually is the chief person, not like Vishnu, Rudra, etc. Indra is the chief. But later, of course, in later Puranic days, Indra's importance has come down and other people have gained ascendance. That, of course, it is a different issue. We need not deliberate on that. So this Indra, he at some point of time killed one particular Rakshasa, who also happened to be a Brahmana, a Rishi's son or something like that. Rishi's son, and he was a Rakshasa. And that particular Rishi got very, very angry. He got very angry, and then he wanted to get another son who was going to kill, who would be able to kill that Indra. So he started doing a great tapas. And he also did a sankalpa. And in that sankalpa, Indra Shatrur Vardhasva, he started saying Indra Shatrur Vardhasva. Indra Shatrur Vardhasva. So instead of saying Indra Shatru, for example, this is something similar to the words Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Matru Devo Bhava. When you say like that, Matru Devo Bhava, Matru, on that thru, that emphasis is there on Matru. Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. So somewhat like that. So Matru Devo Bhava means one for whom mother is the goddess. Pitru Devo Bhava, a person for whom father is the god. Father is the god, mother is the god. If I say Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, something like that, Mata, and he becomes the god for the mother, he becomes the god for the father. So if you change the swara or the emphasis, that swara is somewhat like an emphasis in English. If you change the emphasis, the meaning changes. So similar, while performing that particular, while performing his tapas and in his sankalpa, instead of saying something like Indra Shatrur Vardhasva, he said Indra Shatrur Vardhasva. So Indra, instead of getting a son who would be able to kill Indra, he got a son who would be killed by Indra. So Indra Shatrur Vardhasva, he performed great tapas and got a son also who fought Indra, but ultimately got killed by Indra because this gentleman, his sankalpa was bad. So anyway, Yathendra Shatruswarato Paradhat. The point is, if you are not uttering the mantras properly, it will give a negative result. That is one type of pratyavaya. There can be another type of pratyavaya, there can be different types of pratyavayas also. That Mimamsa Shastra, it talks about various types of, I was telling you, the darba, the tip of the darba has to be in a particular direction and you have to do pradakshina in a particular way, etc., etc. So, Yajna is something which has to be performed very, very meticulously and the mantras have to be uttered very, very perfectly. For that, there is one Shastram itself, one whole Shastra is developed. It is called Shiksha. Shiksha is actually one of the limbs of Vedas. Shiksha, Vyakarana, Chandas, Nirukta, Jyotisha and Kalpa. These are the 6 limbs of the Vedas. So, this Shiksha tells how a particular word has to be pronounced. And in that Paniniya Shiksha, or you take any Shiksha also, there is a particular shloka which says, one has to utter the words or letters the way that tigress carries its cub. For example, when the tigress carries its cub, a small, just newborn cub, how does it carry? It carries it with its claws. And when it is carrying it with its claws, if it presses too much, it is going to hurt and it will bleed, the baby will bleed. And if it is holding it lightly, the baby will fall. So it has to use exact amount of pressure which will not hit the baby or damage the baby, but at the same time hold. So there is a shloka for that. Yatha Vyagri Haret Putran. Vyagri is the tiger. Haret Putran. Damstrabhyam with its claws. Nacha Pidayet. It is not going to hurt it. Bhita Patana Bhedabhyam. Tadvad Varnan Prachodayet. The Varnas means the letters have to be pronounced like that. So in that way, all these things have to take place in a very, very meticulously. In fact, Dasharatha also refers to that while doing Pitru, that Putra Kameshti. In Ramayana, we find a word. He specifically cautions all these Ritviks. You perform it very, very meticulously, because otherwise all these Brahma Rakshasas will be watching. All the Brahma Rakshasas will be coming and they will find fault with you. So like that, in this Mimamsa Shastra, it talks about Pratyavaya. But in this Karma Yoga, there is no Pratyavaya. We will see tomorrow. Swalpa, he says, Swalpamapyasya dharmasya, even a little bit, it is not going to give a negative result, he is going to say. We will see tomorrow. Harihi Om Tat Sat.